Response to inmendham.
So anyway, I guess I should mention Deterministum 1 guy did make a little response video of sorts to me about his anarchism, and I don't know if it's, like I said, I don't really want to get into a conversation about it.
Well, if you didn't want to get into a conversation about it, you shouldn't have referred to me as a lunatic.
I don't think it's a very intelligent argument to make that, you're making this distinction between rules and rulers.
Well, I think it's a pretty important distinction. I mean, they are different words, mean different things. A rule, in my little free dictionary here, is a principle that governs behavior. And a ruler is one who exercises authority over. Okay, authority, the power or right to give orders or make decisions. Right? They have the power to make the rules. That's a big difference between a rule. There's a difference between rule and rulers. Okay, you give somebody the power to make the rules, and without any qualification. I mean, you called me a pothead, and for 40 years, well, just in my lifetime, somebody with authority to make the rules says people cannot smoke pot or even possess it. You can't even possess it in Arizona without a license. If you can get the permission from the state, you can smoke your pot. And I know people my son's age that they have this license, right? There's kids young enough to be my kid are out there smoking pot, and but I can't. Right? I'll still be a felon right now if they caught me with some weed. So you see the difference between the rule is basically the rule is the number one rule is there's no rulers. Okay. The second rule is don't do something to somebody else that harms them or threatens to harm. If you threaten to harm somebody, that's your basic rule, right? Now, how does smoking pot break that rule? It doesn't. Okay, yet still, all my life, the rule is you can't smoke pot. I mean, give me a break. So, anyhow, I got me show off another book of mine, right? This is basically the history of anarchism, more or less, right? It's the history of people standing up to the rulers, right? That's basically what anarchism is, challenging authority. Is the authority legitimate? Is it justified? There's no justified ruler. I mean, anybody has the power to stop the criminal. It doesn't have to be a cop, and a cop isn't certainly not a ruler. The cop is the hired gun of the ruler. So the cop can go out and bust me for smoking pot, or actually possessing pot, at one seed. If I have one viable cannabis seed, I'm a felon in the state of Arizona, unless I got a license.
And there's no distinction.
Yes, there is.
I mean, rules can only be imposed or enforced by creating ruler.
Wrong.
Of the sort.
Of the sort? What does that mean, of the sort? I mean,
it really doesn't matter if a piece of paper tells the cops to do it or a person tells the cops to do it. It doesn't really matter. If it's the rules or the ruler saying this is against the law, or this you can do, or this you can't do, what's the difference?
The difference is that if you give power to people to make rules, and the rules they make are unjustified, anybody should be able to stand up to that rule, but you can't. They write the rule down, and good luck changing it. I guess Washington and Colorado, as far as I know, the only states that have completely decriminalized cannabis, but the rest of us, we've got to get permission from the state.
Still the same thing. So it's a silly distinction, in my opinion, just to play.
Well, in your opinion, but you're not really. You didn't even define the terms. There's a big distinction.
A game of semantics, and say there's some difference between rules.
Well, that's what philosophy is. It's a game of, I mean, meaning has a meaning. You know, what do you mean? What do I mean when I say when there's a difference between rule and rulers? Well, there's a difference.
Rules and rulers, same difference.
No, it's not.
And so I just don't buy this argument that somehow that means you have more freedom. If it's a rule that's telling you can't do something, or it's a ruler.
Well, that's the distinction. The ruler has the power to make the rules, regardless of whether the guy or gal is making a legitimate rule. Like the thing with pot. The whole pot was made illegal by fraudulent means. I mean, that's historical fact. I'm sure you must know that, right? That law is. I mean, I commented on one of my videos. I can go to the store and fill my shopping cart with enough booze to kill an elephant, and that's okay. But if I have one viable cannabis seed, I'm a felon. It's not just a misdemeanor in Arizona. There's no misdemeanor possession of pot. It's all felony, and that's just ridiculous.
I don't know how you can possibly make a distinction between those two things.
I don't know how you can't.
If it's exactly the same kind of restriction to your personal liberty.
The only restriction is you can't harm or threaten to harm someone else. That's the basics of all law. Okay, but how does smoking pot harm somebody else, or even threaten to harm somebody else?
And I'm just saying that civilization requires restrictions on personal liberty. That's just rational.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you should be able to go out and kill people willy-nilly, but I mean, the laws should be able to be challenged. That's the history of the people of the United States. Challenging authority.
And there's no way to evade it if you're going to have anything called civilization. You just can't have civilization without rules. You can't have rules without enforcement, rulers. So
now, see, enforcement is different than ruling. See, the rulers get to make the rules. They have the power to make rules, and they should. I mean, even the Constitution says we have a right to have a grievance with the government. That's one of the good things in the Constitution. You can't make a law against complaining about the government. Yet, pot smokers have been complaining for decades. To what effect? I mean, I think Obama said something about he's not going to enforce it. But what has he really done anything? Has he used his executive authority to say this law is stupid? And just
What's the point of this
wordplay? How come with me it's wordplay, but with you it's okay? I mean, you play with words, to make a point. I'm not playing with words. I'm making a distinction between rules and rulers.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sure, there's something else I wanted to say here. Like the whole tax thing. I mean, you raved on for 12 minutes. I mean, you switched the argument from taxes to fees, which is completely different. Taxes and fees are not the same thing. I can't think of a fee that you were forced to pay. And with a fee, you know what you're getting for your money. With the tax, it just goes wherever. Like, as a matter of fact, I know you don't like property tax because it goes to education for other people's kids. So, don't you think that's theft? Taking without consent? Yeah, there you go. I thought of what else I wanted to say. The relationship between anarchism and antinatalism. Like I think I had said before, anarchist will challenge authority wherever he might find it, he or she might find it. And the antinatalist is basically an anarchist challenging the authority of a couple to make a baby. This couples decide they want to bring somebody else into existence. They think they have the authority to do so. And the antinatalist is challenging that authority, saying, you know, there's no rational justification for you bringing another person into being. They've given themselves authority that they do not have. So there you go again.